Every time a new Star Wars book comes out, there are always a lot of fun, smaller details that wouldn't fill up a video of their own, but I still want to talk about. So here are a bunch of fun moments, Easter eggs, and references that can be found in the new book from a certain point of view. Keep in mind there will be spoilers from the book incoming. Tosh Majefkin, the guy who ordered the Tantive IV to launch at the end of Rogue One, describes what he saw in the hallway of the Profundity. He had no idea who or what Vader was. Raymus Antilles, the captain of the Tantive IV, had a wife and 2 small daughters. He struggled to send them a message before his capture in which he hoped for a bright future for them, which is heartbreaking considering they lived on Alderaan. Raymus himself had no idea they were in possession of the Death Star plans until a stormtrooper says so right before he's choked to death. One of the stormtroopers standing nearby, designated TK-4601, was named Tarvin Laureta. He also appears in Inferno Squad as a dutiful Imperial that was fond of Iden Versio. He also happens to be the stormtrooper that stuns Leia. Stormtrooper armor was meant to defuse blaster shots so they wouldn't be lethal. I have a feeling that's just what the soldiers are told, because when has that worked ever? Under the robes, Jawas are noted as having fur. They communicate with words as well as smells. R5-D4 was on the Sandcrawler for 4 years, and he had a vague history with the Rebellion. The Sandcrawler also carried a shard of a green kyber crystal. It was stolen by a Tusken Raider while R2 and 3PO were being sold. We don't know who the Tusken Raider was stealing it for, but they were described as a humanoid trader. Tusken Raiders are surprisingly eloquent in their thoughts and language. They are often shown to be incredibly savage, but they're much deeper than the films give them credit for. Killing a crate dragon was a Tusken Raider rite of passage which was set up in Star Wars Legends. In fact, John Jackson Miller writes a story about some young Tusken Raiders and includes some references to his Legends book, Kenobi. The Tusken Raider that attacked Luke was named Akoba. Up until now, he was literally only known as Rain does fall on Tatooine, it's just incredibly rare. It can be as bad as once in every 100 years. In the Clone Wars, Qui-Gon had not yet learned to manifest himself visibly except on Mortis, and even that may have been an illusion. By the time of A New Hope, he could be visibly seen by Obi-Wan. This knowledge gives me hope that we may see the return of Qui-Gon in future films. Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru could not have children of their own. In Greedo's story, it sounds like his feud with Han is over a woman. Figrin Dan and the modal nodes get a Rodian named Doda Bodana Weedo fired from Chalmun's cantina so they can play instead. This is the same Rodian seen in the special edition of Return of the Jedi at Jabba's palace. Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba were traveling on Tatooine under their aliases of Rufu and Saki. These were originally their names in the Star Wars radio drama. The aliases were made canon in the Rogue One visual guide. Evazan and Ponda were supposed to provide Greedo with some backup against Han, but the lightsaber attack ruined that plan and left Greedo to die. Wooher literally just hands Luke a glass of dirty water. That doesn't really pertain to anything, I just thought it was funny. The Tonica sisters note that their faces are in every criminal database in the galaxy. This could be a reference to their appearance in a criminal database in the Clone Wars episode Lightsaber Lost. They have history with Han, and it's possible they were involved in whatever Han quote-unquote pulled against Lando. They also mention having worked a job on Canto Bight. Garandan was enslaved by the Empire and forced to become a spy on Tatooine. His brainwashing didn't take, and his goal was to work with the Empire until he had enough money to escape back to his planet and end the Imperial occupation there. General Tag's story connects very well with the Darth Vader comic and his desire to use Vader as a tool and nothing more, as well as his different view of the Empire compared to everyone else in the meeting. Those opinions briefly gain him command of the Imperial fleet in the comic. The Emperor used the Battle of Scarif as the reason for disbanding the Imperial Senate, correctly pointing out that the rebels had support from within. One of Princess Leia's guards decides to defect to the rebellion after the destruction of Alderaan. He likely died in the battle station, and it makes you wonder how many other Imperials on board wanted to defect but simply didn't have the time to leave before the Battle of Yavin. Alderaan was responsible for many ancient expeditions that opened up the galaxy. That was true in Legends, but this is the first time it's been mentioned in canon. During the events of A New Hope, Dr. Aphra was on Dantooine, scavenging what was left of the old rebel base. Dianogas are at least semi-sentient and hermaphroditic. Palpatine was confused and frightened by the news that Obi-Wan disappeared when he died. He had no comprehension of what that meant. Becoming one with the Force means existing outside of time. As Obi-Wan adjusts to this, he sees glimpses of his life. One memory is the funeral pyre of Darth Maul, so now we know what he did with Maul's body. Obi-Wan would also make toy spaceships for Luke. He would leave them at Shmi's grave for Beru to find. Obi-Wan sees a glimpse of Luke in the future, full of regret and sorrow. There isn't much we can glean from that, just slightly more insight into Luke's attitude in The Last Jedi. Yoda had 2 huts on Dagobah, one for the rainy season and one for the dry. The one we see in Empire is the dry season hut. The Empire searched for Yoda with probe droids, even 19 years after he was last seen on Coruscant. Yoda's blanket was made out of Qui-Gon Jinn's cloak. Yoda also wanted to train Leia, not Luke, but I've covered that already in a video of its own. In Legends, Jek Porkins was nicknamed Piggy. That nickname is brought back to canon in this book. Harb Binley, who flew as Red 7 in the Battle of Scarif, returns for the Battle of Yavin, where he is killed. This makes another confirmed dead member of Mustache Squadron. For the first time in canon, we have the official duty roster of Red Squadron during the Battle of Yavin. Garvin Drays as Red Leader, Wedge as Red 2, Biggs as Red 3, John Brannon as Red 4, Luke as Red 5, Porkins as Red 6, Harb Binley as Red 7, Zal Diniz as Red 8, Nazo Natan as Red 9, Theron Net as Red 10, Rallo Sorrell as Red 11, and Puck Nako as Red 12. This roster has changed from Legends to make room for some of the survivors of the Battle of Scarif, namely Binley, Diniz, and Sorrell. But those replaced pilots still exist, and were simply grounded. Elihek Rue, Bryn Quersey, and Winton Chan all experienced the Battle of Yavin from the War Room. The story about Biggs was, of course, amazing, and it brought some elements of his legend story back to canon. His mutiny aboard the Rand Ecliptic is mentioned, which has been brought up in canon reference books, but this is the first story source. The cause of Porkins' death has always been somewhat ambiguous, with multiple causes listed in Legends. Biggs' first-hand account claims Red 6 was hit by turbo laser fire, which initially caused some mechanical problems, before the X-Wing was hit again by another turbo laser. From a casino across the galaxy, Lando gets to see footage of the Battle of Yavin that the rebels loaded onto the Darknet, which I have to assume is an illegal version of the HoloNet. He sees his former ship save the day. He's also with Lobot before the events of the Lando comic. Lobot doesn't drink to keep his mind from being completely taken over by his implants. Miara Lart, who was first introduced in the book Ahsoka, has now been part of the rebellion for 18 years. After the Empire ruined her planet, she lived on Alderaan and was fortunately off-world when it was destroyed, but she considered it home. She was present for the medal ceremony. And that's it for random facts from a Certain Point of View. If you're interested in reading the book for yourself, you can check it out on Audible. The From a Certain Point of View audiobook is out now, and it's voiced by a diverse and talented cast including Ashley Eckstein, Neil Patrick Harris, Mark Thompson, John Hamm as Boba Fett, and many more. You can get it for free by clicking on the link in the description or by going to www.audibletrial.com/Star Wars Explained. If you sign up for a trial, you'll get a credit for 1 free book, and you can use it on From a Certain Point of View, or a number of other Star Wars books, or get any book you want. The point is, you get a free book, and you'll be supporting the channel when you do. But that's it for today. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to see new Star Wars videos every single day, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out my Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.